Hello everyone. Do you know how India got its name? It's a fascinating story that begins with a river, the Indus. The ancient Greeks referred to the people living east of the Indus River as Indoi, which translates to the people of the Indus. This is believed to be the origin of the term India. But let's not forget, this vibrant land has had many names throughout its rich history. It's also known as Bharat, after the legendary King Bharata, who is believed to have ruled the region in ancient times. The name Bharat is still used today, reflecting the deep roots of Indian culture and heritage. Another name you may have come across is Hindustan, a Persian term meaning land of the Hindus, used by the Mughals and the British during their rule. So, from the Indus River to the Greeks to the present day, India has a rich and varied naming history. Let's take a trip back to the 1700s. Do you know who was in charge of back then? The 1700s was a big turning point for India. The Mughal Empire, which was once a big deal, started losing its power. After the last of the powerful Mughal emperors, Aurangzeb, passed away, his successors couldn't keep the empire's strength and influence. At the same time, a new group was gaining power, the British East India Company. They first came to India as traders in the 1600s. But slowly, they started taking more control. They used different strategies like diplomacy, fighting, and taking advantage of divisions among the local rulers. The change from Mughal to British rule wasn't just a change in who was in charge. It also meant big changes to India's politics, economy, and society. Politically speaking, the British way of governing was very different from the Mughals. The British introduced a new system with a lot of bureaucracy, which means a state or organization governed or managed as a bureaucracy that the Indian people were not used to. Economically, they took a lot of India's resources and wealth, which had a massive negative impact. India, which had been a big part of the world economy, saw its wealth disappearing, leading to a time of economic struggle that lasted a long time. On a social level, the British rule changed the society in India. They introduced Western education and legal systems, which changed the society a lot, leading to a new group of Indians who were educated in Western ways, but still deeply connected to Indian culture. But the Indian people didn't just accept all these changes, they also resisted and adapted. The 1700s also saw strong local kingdoms like the Marathas and Sikhs, who fought against British control. The 1700s was a big turning point in India's history, setting up what would become the British colonial era. But how did the world wars affect India? Let's explore an important part of India's past, its participation in the two world wars. Even though India was under British control, it still played a big part in these world-changing wars. In the First World War, India was part of the British Empire, so it had to join the war. Over 1 million Indian soldiers were sent to fight in different places around the world, from the Western Front to the Middle East. Soldiers from the Indian Army showed great bravery and determination, earning them respect and admiration worldwide. However, the war cost a lot and many Indian lives were lost, which caused unhappiness and protest back in India. The Second World War affected India even more. Once again, India was pulled into the war because of its ties to Britain. This time, more than 2 million Indian soldiers fought in Europe, Africa, and Asia. This war also triggered big political changes in India. One of the most important changes was the creation of the Indian National Army. This army was made up of Indian soldiers who were first captured by the Japanese. Under the leadership of Subhas Chandra Bose, a key figure in India's fight for independence, the Indian National Army fought with the Japanese to help free India from British control. At the same time, the Quit India movement was growing stronger. Started by the Indian National Congress in 1942, this movement wanted an end to British rule. Even though it was harshly crushed, the movement represented a big change in how people in India felt and was a big step towards independence. Despite being under British control, India played a key role in both world wars, showing its strength and spirit. These events, filled with bravery, sacrifice, and the wish for freedom, were very important in guiding India's path towards independence. And it was these events that led to India becoming a republic on the 26th of January 1950, a day now celebrated with great pomp and show as Republic Day. India isn't just about battles and government matters. There's a lot more to it, like its customs and habits. You can't discuss India without talking about its amazing mix of cultures. This is a place where over 2,000 different groups of people and more than 2,000 languages exist together. From the Punjabis in the north, the Tamils in the south, the Gujaratis in the west, to the Bengalis in the east, every group has its own special ways, habits, and languages. But they all have one thing in common. They believe in unity, even when they're different. This is what makes India's culture so special and interesting. India's year is filled with colors due to the numerous festivals celebrated. Diwali, the festival of lights, fills the country with happiness and fun. Holi, the festival of colors, makes the streets look like a rainbow. Eid and Christmas are also celebrated with a lot of excitement, showing the religions in the country. At the center of Indian culture is the importance of family, respect, and being a good host. Indian families are often big, with close relationships between the members. Respect for older people is a very important value, and visitors are treated very well, following the rule of Atithi Devo Bhava, which means the guest like God. With so many cultures and traditions, India truly is a place of diversity. Have you ever wondered how India has changed from the 18th century till now? Let's take a look. Since becoming free in 1947, India has made big jumps forward in many ways. India has seen a lot of growth in technology. The big rise in technology in the late 1900s helped India become a big name in the tech world. Today, tech companies from India work with clients all over the world, and Indian engineers are creating new things in Silicon Valley and other places too. In space studies, India has had many big wins. The Indian Space Research Organization has had many successful missions, including one to Mars, which made India the first Asian country to reach Mars. In terms of money, India has grown a lot. It used to mostly rely on farming, but now it also focuses on making goods and providing services, making it one of the fastest growing economies in the world. But India also faces some tough times. There's still poverty and unfairness, but work is being done to fix these problems. Programs like the Right to Education Act and Social Security plans show that the government is working hard to help everyone have a fair. Even with these challenges, India keeps moving forward, bringing its rich history and varied culture into the future. The story of India from the 18th century to now is one of bouncing back, changing, and always pushing forward. It shows just how strong and diverse this lively country is. Thank you so much for watching the video, and happy Republic Day.